one thing about it, when you have a mental illness, the type of thinking, I remember I did therapy, so I was able to find out the different type of manipulative thinking that patterns that I have. And one of the thinking patterns that I had at the time dealing with my depression was black and white thinking. The black and white thinking is where you see everything as good, or you completely see everything as bad. There is no gray. It's everything is black or everything is white. There's no gray area. So just like even more with the black and white thinking, when you're dealing with depression and anxiety and suicidal thoughts, committing suicide, your mind is not in the proper state. You are literally dealing with a mental illness. It is a disease. All type of illnesses require some type of treatment. It may not be like a cold. It may be a little bit different than that, but everything requires a certain type of treatment when you're dealing with an illness. And I was literally dealing with a mental illness. My thoughts were not straight. I was not thinking the normal thing that I would be thinking. I grew up in church all of my life. I got saved in first grade. So I've known Christ my whole life. And out of all my years of living, I come to this point and I'm not thinking straight, and I'm thinking maybe God's not real. Maybe he can't hear me. Maybe he doesn't know that I'm hurting as much. I'm starting to question everything that I've known my entire life because my mental capacity, my mental stability is not correct. It's very unstable. So I'm in a very emotional and sensitive time. That black and white thinking is the pattern that I had. And you can either blow something up completely big out of proportion, and that's another type of thinking pattern that I had, to blow something completely out of proportion to make it bigger than what it was. And so the smallest inconvenience became a big thing because I'm mentally unstable. I'm having a lot of emotional problems, a lot of emotional things that are not being dealt with properly. So since I wasn't receiving the proper treatment, I was having these thoughts that were very negative and very suicidal, and I did not know how to deal with it. When I was talking about the story of how I left the house, that's the only thing that I knew how to do, was to get up and leave my current surroundings. That was pretty much the only coping mechanism that I had. I had nothing else. Again, like I said, my whole family was with me during the time of my suicide. So it had nothing to do with being surrounded by people, because you're mentally unstable. So unless you know how to deal with that, unless you know how to cope with that, unless you have proper coping mechanisms, you cannot deal with depression on your own. So that's why in the next videos, I'm going to be talking to you more about the type of treatment that you need to get help, so that you do not have to tell a suicide story, that you do not have to end your life, that we don't have to keep seeing these different topics coming up about young people ending their lives. There is a way that you can treat your depression. There is a way that you can treat your anxiety, but you have to have the proper tools. That's why in the, moving forward, I am going to start to go into the type of tools that you need, because without it, it makes it very difficult. Depression is very difficult to deal with on your own, because there's a constant voice saying that no one else cares. And in reality, that is not the truth. A lot of people care about you. A lot of people will be sad if you're not there. You have to think about the people that you would be leaving behind with this, this suicide. And at the time, I mentally could not think about that. You have a tunnel vision where you can only see things through this tunnel. You don't see everything outside of that, that tunnel, like the other people that I would affect from me not being here anymore. My parents, leaving my parents behind, how much that could hurt, bearing a child. You don't think about those things. And it's just really shows you how depression really, it messes up your mind mentally, and you're not able to think straight. That's why there's certain tools and certain things in place that can help people that suffer from depression. And I really want to be a light on those certain things to help people to move forward, so that you don't have to have a suicide story, that you don't have to end your life, that you don't have to even deal with those thoughts of thinking that ending your life is a good thing, because it's not. And I'm so glad that I'm actually here to tell my story now, because the amount of thing that I took to end my life, I should be gone. I should not be here. But God gave me, another chance. And I think he gave me another chance just for the purpose to do this. Just to tell my story, to be here and be a living testimony that you can get through it. Even some of the people that you think have it all together don't have it all together. You don't know what they're dealing with behind closed doors. So I'm so glad to be able to be a spokesperson for depression and for anxiety and for suicide itself. Just knowing that you can get the proper help and you can make it through.